Welcome back. Thank you all for coming back to our own personal Susu. I am Michael Thomas. That is Reggie. Say hi, Reggie.
Hi, Reggie.
I want to say this is Easter weekend, so people went, regardless of when you're listening to this, happy Easter, happy belated Easter for people that believe however they believe, or if you're a heathen like Reggie who ignores the whole thing altogether and believes in the Easter Bunny, whatever works for you, this is a celebration. I wanted to say happy birthday to a man who's really special to me, more special to Reggie. And the reason I say he's special to me is because in the episode when we had Letitia slash Tisha slash Roni slash woman on the show, I mentioned that how nice she was to me back in a time when I needed someone to be nice to me. And this applies to this man too. I would say that he was like a father to me, but always found that to be disrespectful to his actual kids who actually had to do the hard work and putting up with their parents. It's kind of like people always talk about, yeah, he's like my son, but it's like, shoot, you're not raising him. And it's like, that's the same way, because if somebody said that my mom was like their mom, I'd be like, shoot, you don't know the chick like I know her.
Mm.
But that's neither here nor there. And that applies here. So I'm not going to say he's like a father to me. I'll just say he's like a good uncle. And that's Reggie's pops. Reggie's pop birthday
Happy
was,
birthday, Pop.
yeah. And one thing I will say about Reggie's pops, two things I'll say about Reggie's pops is he was really kind to me. He's always been kind to me. He's always treated me well. Reggie talked about how his dad used to take in strays, and I count myself as one of those. And the other thing I'll say is you will never, like his son, you will never be in his presence and walk away hungry or dehydrated. So
And shout out to my late mother's. Her birthday will be April 5th. So happy birthday, Mom.
yep, loved her just the same. Same principle. Took me in when she didn't have to. Yep. So shout out to them. Now,
And hold up.
oh,
And just for clarity's sake, people want to know why sometimes I'm so combative. I'm a Leo. I have two Aries in my family. One of us had to go, and it wasn't going to be me. I love my parents. Happy birthday, guys.
yeah. And I'm just gonna let that stand right there. But yes, Reggie's a Leo, if you hadn't figured that out. Okay. Another thing, kind of piggybacking on this whole Easter weekend thing, is it's interesting. I was listening to Tony Kornheiser's podcast, and for people that don't know, Reggie knows I love Tony Kornheiser. People know him from the PTI show, which is a sports show on ESPN that he's been on with Michael Wilbon for 20 years. But the reason I like him is because for those 20 years, he's had a radio show, which is now branched off into a podcast where he talks about other things beyond sports. And if ever there was someone had a spirit animal, my spirit animal is a 75-plus-year-old white man.
Jewish white man.
Jewish white man, go figure that. But the reason I bring him up is because on this weekend, he talked about, on one of his episodes of his podcast last week, he talked about the conflict that he was having between being a Jewish man and conflicts with people who believe in Christianity. And I'm going to speak ignorantly about this. Reggie the Heathen probably knows more about this than I do, just the origins of the religions and things like that. So I'm going to speak from my naive perspective and just talk about what he spoke about. It seems as though Jewish people, their followings are Old Testament based. And one of the things that he said is that Christians, they claim a moral high ground over Jews because they believe in the New Testament, and the New Testament speaks more of a merciful, loving God despite revelations. Whereas they say Jews believe in the Old Testament, which is God's going to
Eye for an eye,
punish
bitch.
every single thing that you do.
Eye for an eye.
There's no resort for walk this straight line and go straight to hell. Do not pass. And they use that as some moral superiority over Jewish people because of that. And so Tony's conflict was, well, what do you do? It's like, how do you move? It's like, what's right, what's wrong? And he had a conversation with a woman who enlightened him simply by saying, when in doubt, Tony, just go with God. And I found that to be profound. Reason being is because when in doubt and trying to talk about relationships and stuff like that, and I talked about in the God episode about the women who are like Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you go to church? How often do you go to church and all of that stuff? But that doesn't speak to the type of person that they're actually looking for, I'm assuming.
You're assuming wrong.
Yeah, because the God that shines in you, he will show through your actions beyond just going to a building or beyond just claiming to be something. I t- and everybody knows right and wrong. Everybody knows good and bad. And if you know right and wrong and you know good and bad, just saying I'm a decent person with no acts to back it up, or just saying, well, I went to church or I identify myself as this religion. And it's not to beat up on Christianity. It's
That's for
just that,
me.
yeah, it's just that as black people, I would say in the 90% range, you're a Christian. So it seems like we're beating up on Christianity, but not
You're
really
beating up on Christian blacks.
beating up on, well, just speaking more about Christians, not the religion, just some people that profess it. Because I will tell you, one of the problems that I have in dating is that, man, a lot of the women that I go out with are mean. And mean in that sense where it's like, it's one thing if you're mean to me, we're dating or whatever, you're in a bad mood, but it's like we go to a restaurant sometimes, I cringe like just listening to you order a meal, or just the way you treat this person, or you in a bad attitude and you talking slick to this person and stuff like that. And the one thing that I can say about 95% of those women that I refer to that are mean, they can all say that either they're Christian,
Mm-hmm.
they're in church every Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
or both.
Mm.
So that just was interesting to me. And if you listen to people long enough, and you listen to people like I told a story about the woman who was like, do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus? I heard that before, because me, that's what men try to talk around it and all this stuff. But if you're not this and that, and shoot, if you believe some of this stuff, it'll have you like questioning your own moral value, despite the things that you can point to that you've done that are more reflective of your views and how you want God to see you. But yeah, instead of asking someone how often they go to church or if they identify with Christian or any religion, maybe you should take a deeper dive in what they're doing to actually show it.
You're talking about the same people who could not come with a checklist of why they really want to be in a relationship. Are you kidding me? Are you
Uh,
kidding me?
I
Yeah.
don't see
Do you
the
think they're gonna
correlation
take a
between the
deeper
two.
dive on something with religion and they can't come up with why I want to be in a relationship because I'm fucking lonely? What? I won't let it go. I won't let that dog go.
Okay.
I want to let it go
Okay. I don't see a tie between those two.
because there's
I don't think the people that are,
if they can't do something as simple as come up with a checklist of something as serious as being a relationship, you really think they're going to come up with a checklist on how to really behave, even though the checklist is there, they call this thing the Bible and stuff like that. But apparently it only applies to when they feel like it applying and shit. So you actually think they're gonna do a deep dive and actually try to actually be Christ-like? Get the fuck out of here.
we all fall short. So
No, that's a fucking excuse. It's called accountability. You want to say you this is how you do it. I mean, everyone, we have temptations. I understand the higher self and lower self, and every once in a while, I got to go to the strip club because I'm lonely and shit. But at the same time, that's too much fucking hypocrisy in the shit.
okay,
Don't.
okay. There's also a passage that says, "Judge not lest you be judged."
I'm not a Christian, so I don't care.
Got me on that one. Got me on that one. So yeah, so all I'm saying is you should look at what a person does. And if you're asking questions, ask them more questions that are more reflective of their walk with God, as opposed to just asking them if they go to church or if they believe in Jesus.
And like I said, that's too much like right.
Well, and
You cannot squeeze blood out of a turnip, as
and
they say.
that's why we're here. Just going back to the whole thing about the lonely thing and why you want to real quick.
A big
Reggie,
dog.
you like knocking these cats, but you the same one that took 3 episodes to like talk about what you wanted in a woman, and then came back with a 3-page checklist.
I understand that. That means I actually thought about the shit. But and loneliness was not on that damn list.
Well, Okay. Okay. Has someone specifically said that they made a checklist and it includes I don't want to be lonely as one of the items on that checklist?
Yeah,
Okay. And
a couple people.
if someone wants to be in a relationship because they don't want to be lonely, if that's what they feel, is that so bad? Isn't that like a component of all relationships, even good ones, even if it's unspoken? It's like I don't want to die
No,
alone. That's what a lot of
you
people say.
you are gonna die alone. You're
Yes.
gonna fucking die alone.
Well,
What's the big hang up?
okay. There's a difference. Okay, you and I are on our deathbeds at
Yep.
the same time.
Yep.
There's going to be a difference in how your last moments are spent versus how mine are spent.
Yeah, well, I'm probably gonna be in a fiery car crash or some shit like that. But other
No,
than that,
no,
well,
see,
can't
no,
do that right
no,
now
no,
because it's cause
no,
of COVID.
no, 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 no. If you and I are in the hospital at the same time, the difference is going to be your last days are going to be spent surrounded by people. Mine are going to be spent surrounded by no one. And I'm not saying this to like try to endear any type of whatever, but just speaking truthfully, because you have family, you have your wife, and everybody else, you have friends. Well, I have friends, but
I'm
still,
about to say.
your family has obligations that
Yeah, most
point
of the
doesn't.
motherfuckers don't want to be there because they obligated.
Yeah, right. I won't even have that. So it's like those last days will be spent completely different. And part of the thing will be mine will be lonelier than yours will be. And I think that's something that's fair to factor in when you get into a relationship. Now, I think what we agree on is what the percentage is, how much of a factor it should be. And it shouldn't be so much of a factor that it overwhelms you and leads you into getting into a bad relationship with somebody who's going to beat up on you or steal your money or
Or
uh,
you don't even really like. You just there. You don't
well
really like them.
yeah, if
And
and
you seen a whole bunch of those relationships. Why are you here? Why you still here? You don't like them.
yeah,
Well, I don't want to be alone. What the fuck? And
yeah,
that's the sentiment right now. If anyone wants to know why I'm so cantankerous right now, that's the reason. Because I'm so sick of that excuse. You don't even like the motherfucker. You don't like him. So why? Well, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be lonely.
yeah, and it goes back to the cheating episode we had when I talked about the reasons that I cheated, which were because shoot, I was scared, lonely, and too much of a punk just to break it off. Even though, to your point, I didn't like that person. Now, with that said, those were relationships in my 20s, one in my early 30s, so it's a little bit different as opposed to someone who's saying that in their 50s. But I cannot debate you on on if somebody it doesn't like someone, why are you there? And there's no debate on that. And speaking of people being alone, just random. I was watching TV and I was on reading something on Yahoo and Donnie Mcclurkin came up. Donnie Mcclurkin, who is a gospel singer, who's one of those cats who's gay, but he's a Christian, so he tried to pray the gay away.
Predicate.
And
Yeah.
now he's just suppressing the gay. I think he says that he still has the urges, but he can't act on them because he'll go to hell, I guess.
He's going to hell anyway. He's gay. Isn't that whole little Nas X thing? Christians sitting there separate filing homosexuals going to hell because they're homosexuals. Dude, go get your dick. You're going to hell anyway. Quote
Okay.
unquote. From the Christians. From
Okay.
your Bible. Straight from your Bible.
Okay. Okay. Oh goodness, boy. Yeah, I should have known to bring Reggie in on something like this. Well, his whole thing tied into this whole lonely thing is he's 61 now, and he said he's accepting the fact that he'll probably be alone for the rest of his life because of what it is. Now, to Reggie talking about what the Bible says and things like that. It's funny how people can use the Bible. It was meant as a
Hold
tool.
up, back up. It's a 61-year-old black man.
Yes.
More than likely, he doesn't have, just because our mortality rate in this country is piss poor, he doesn't have that much time left to go really find the love of his life or whatever, to experience that joy, because he's caught up in this religious thing that he's going to go to hell, even though they already subscribed him to go to hell. And he's going to waste that happiness, that joy for what?
First of all, like I was saying, the Bible's been used to justify many things that people don't like. And it's funny how, as times go around and we get a new pope, he changes the rules and modifies the rules based on his new interpretation and things like that.
The original OG.
I don't really know anything about where it says in the Bible that if you gay, you go into hell, even though people have been telling me that ever since I was a kid. I've been hearing it in church and everything like that. Now people have softened on it because I guess it's more acceptable in this day and age. Here are two things that I know. One, I know that being gay is not a choice. I do not know at what point. I never came to a crossroad and said, there's dick over here and there's pussy over here. I'm going with the pussy. Ever since I was old enough, I just knew there was something I was attracted to in women. I couldn't put my finger on it until I could put my finger on it.
Boy, did you put your finger on it?
Yeah. So then I like touching it a lot, like I was saying.
Boy, do we?
Yeah. But
that's what I like about women, touching it a lot.
Right. But I never felt like there was a choice in that matter. I felt like and moreover, I make jokes with Reggie, but men honestly kind of disgust me. It's like even the thought of like receiving dick is like, oh. Now, not knocking anybody that does. That's my whole point in that, is that because of that, I believe that is not a choice. You're born with it. So if you're
I don't care if it's a choice or not. It's none of your damn business.
Well, and that brings me to my second point. When it comes to Christianity and not the religion, just God.
Hypocritical, judgmental.
Well, no, God and God's love. God tells me not to judge. God tells me to love, and that's what I'm going to do. And if God has a problem with that or anything else, God's going to take that up. But I'm gonna love you.
I'm like Tony. I'm a Jewish freedom fighter. We're going with the rightful vengeance. Rightful vengeance.
What does that mean?
That means that you stay in your house, I stay in my house. No, you mess with me, we're fine. You fuck with me, I'm burning down the whole neighborhood.
Well, and that kind of speaks to my point when I'm talking about not judging. Mind your effing business, and
mind your effing business,
and let God do his job. God doesn't need your help, and you might be surprised at how God does his job.
I mean, because let's be realistic. If he's homosexual, God has something to do with it.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's logical. If we're all made from God,
well,
I mean, what else can you say?
I just think it's sad that Donnie Mcclurkin was born with these urges, and he's spent 60 plus years trying to suppress them, and that is his fate. But hey, which brings us again on this Easter edition of Dating While Adulting.
Reggie, you going to hell? Yep. If this is not already hell, so it can't be no worse than this, right?
Look, to anybody listening or watching or whatever you're doing, this stuff that Reggie's on, and I've been saying, and I've had people here, like when we had the Ask a Woman segments, and I like, well, Reggie don't believe in God, and they all laugh it off like, oh, Reggie's just so cute. Okay, here you go.
No. See, there you go. You conflating. Reggie believes in a higher source. I just don't believe in that Judo-Christian God that everyone's fooling around trying to push on me.
Okay, so
totally different concept.
So if we were having this conversation about Islam, you mean that you'd be softer on that?
Nope.
That's my point.
But like I said, I believe in something more divine. I don't believe in a Judo-Christian thing that's been passed down and re-edited and whatever, because it's a source of indoctrination and brainwashing, propaganda. Right. Bottom line,
And this is
I
the
look up in the sky every morning and be like, oh, this shit is marvelous. I look at the trees, I look at all the, there's something in the thread between all of us in nature and stuff like that. I just don't believe in that doctrine.
and this is the point I'm bringing. This is the point that I'm making, and this is the perfect example, because people might say, well, Michael, if you have beliefs that are this way and Reggie has beliefs in that way and stuff like that, but the same way that I talk about not judging Donnie McClurkin or anyone who was born a certain way and chooses to live their life a certain way, Reggie's walk is Reggie's walk. And if God wants Reggie to know something,
He's gonna let me know. Well, they, not he, they will let me know.
okay, I'm going to stick with he, but we can call it they or whatever you want to for purposes of this podcast. We don't need to argue for 8 minutes about that. But God is going to let Reggie know, and that is not for me to judge. That's between Reggie and God. They, as he refers to them. So, yeah, and if I can rub off on Reggie in any way, hadn't worked in 30 years.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna let God do his job. What I'm going to do is love Reggie, just like I'm going to love Donnie McClurkin, just like I'm going to love. Okay, now this little Nas X thing.
We got to start this kumbaya shit.
This little Nas X thing.
Great segue, buddy.
Okay, for people,
my synthetic laugh.
For people, you don't believe in Satan.
Well, apparently people watching this podcast gonna think I'm gonna believe in it.
This is the problem. Well, let me get into the little Nas X thing.
Go ahead.
Because we only have 7 minutes, and Lil Nas X has really gone off the deep end. First, he came out as gay, which was no surprise to anybody living in Atlanta.
I mean, hell, if you just saw the damn video, that was the.
And then he's just really taking it all the way. And now and not to say that being gay and worshiping Satan are related in any way. So I don't mean he took it all the way, like he just piggybacked on that, because those are two separate things. But he released a pair of shoes, and he only has 666 copies of them, and they all are supposed to contain like a drop of actual human blood. And he actually just took some Nikes and just converted,
modified them.
Made them into something, and he's selling these things. And
well, no, he got a cease and desist order.
Yeah, he did now, but I mean, he started selling these shoes and stuff like that and giving away some. And from the backlash that he started getting, he just started going further and further out there, to the point where, I don't know if you saw this picture, Reggie. He has a picture on his Instagram where he is actually bent over, and there is a guy in devil horns behind him simulating fucking this dude, basically.
So we went from the video where he was doing a lap dance, and actually I'm going to sit there and say this, since I'm already going to get banned in like 45 states and shit. If you actually, which I know most people didn't do because they don't fucking read and shit, but if you actually looked at the lyrics and you actually understood his story and get past all the imagery, you understand, because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the gospel singer and his transformation from actually understanding his homosexuality and how he's being manipulated by Christianity and stuff like that. So it goes from in essence, a fall from grace, until the last part where he's lap dancing Satan. That's how that whole thing happened. Then of course he went off on the deep end with the shoes and stuff, and that was,
Yeah, because as two sons of hip hop like you and I are, people don't listen to lyrics. That's the first thing to really get the true message. And then the second thing is the imagery is more valuable to it, because especially in this age of YouTube and things like that, that's what people see and that's what people run with. And here's what's interesting about it. From conservatives in the deep South, where I reside right now, the only reason they have a hold of any kind in this country is because they can point to stuff like that and say, look at that dude right there. You don't want to be like that dude. And the thing that surprises me more than anything about liberals and is that he's done these things. And when Nike sent the cease and desist order, there are like celebrities who are like, "Gone, Lil Nas X, do your thing, Lil Nas X." You can love someone and be like, "I don't know about that, Lil Nas."
I would say this. I would say this. Artistically, I think it's brilliant. I also think, boy, that's a hell of a risk. And I get it as an artist. I get it as a creative because sometimes you want to push the edge. But boy, you should know the fire. I hope he really understand the firestorm that he just started.
I, see, and that's the thing, and that's where another place where you and I differ, obviously, is because I believe in heaven and I believe in consequences to your.
What are the consequences?
So I'm not even thinking about as an artist, as a celebrity, what his career is going to look like from this point on, because he was really a one-hit wonder anyway.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about his career. I'm talking about him. It's like period.
Okay,
This is beyond his career.
yeah. I just mean like when he dies in the afterlife, what happens after that when you've like made your claim, when you've tied yourself to this, and and that's the problem with a lot of people. Happy Easter, everybody. The problem with Lil Nas X and people of his ilk and people who are just so anti-religion, so anti-Christianity, anti-just religion.
Reggie, raise your hand.
Yeah, yeah. Is that they can't separate the doctrine from the people that claim to follow the doctrine. If someone come, it's like when I talked about the dating thing, when I talked about these women and stuff like that who give me beef because I'm not following Christianity in the way that they feel that they should. That's not a Christianity thing to me. That's them. And what makes a little Nas X, or in some cases a Reggie, well, Reggie won't claim it, but a little Nas X, what makes him go off the deep end is that he's railing against quote unquote Christians. And
Is he really? No, he's not.
he's railing against Christianity because of the actions of people who identify themselves as Christians. And like
How else are you going to judge? But how else are you going to judge philosophy unless the people practicing it?
Dude, you judge it by the words that are written. If you read the Bible or read the Quran and
the contradictions and the inconsistencies,
dude,
and the books that have been taken out and canonized or not taken out because they wanted to do a particular message and propagandize because the Vatican did it. So
that's that stuff I'm talking about right there. People want to find all these different reasons and excuses to like ignore it. But if
people want to find all these reasons and excuses to believe something that has been doctored by man. That's it. That's the list, as your boy says.
These same people who would start with the 10 Commandments, for example, and not find a problem with any of it. Like, okay, you don't have a problem with that. Read a little bit more. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Read a little bit more. I don't have a problem with that. If you read the Bible and follow what it actually says, or read the Quran and follows what it actually says, and I keep mentioning both of them because they are very similar in what it tells you to do and how to live your life. People say they don't have a problem with that, but then they go into all of this other stuff. Well, what about the books that were taken out? Just stick with what you're reading. It tells you what to do, and nobody finds fault with what it tells you to do, which basically is centered on love and treating people well.
That's your interpretation is full of shit.
Dude, it's not an interpretation.
How long we got?
It's written.
Oh, no, it's not the word that's written. It was doctored.
Okay. If you read the 10 Commandments, because
obviously, it's actually the 10 Commandments is a stripped down version of the 42 negative confessions from Egyptian spirituality. So what are we talking about here?
That's what
is a plagiarized scripture from somebody else's religious systems.
First of all, you're gonna let me speak.
Spiritual. Okay.
First of all, you're gonna let me speak. And see, that's what you can claim based on something else that you read. But the thing about it is,
how long do we have?
Let me finish.
How long do we have? We going over?
We already a minute.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we already.
Okay, I'm sorry, but you said time 2 minutes, 5 minutes ago.
I know, but see, we always gotta take it there.
I'm sorry.
Really, this is my fault because
it is your fault, God dog it.
Yeah, he didn't even want to do this, but I pushed him into it, knowing what I was going to get, and then I get it, and then I'm mad because I got it. Yeah, that's something. Yeah. But no, all I was saying is that you read a book that tells you that this book is phony, but you believe this book over that book, and why do you believe this book over that book? And my whole thing is, I don't really get into any of that. What I get into is when I pick up a Bible and I read it, and it tells me something. how can I argue with it telling me to love? And if it tells me to love, I'm not going to say, well, it's telling me to love. And it's not an interpretation. This is what the actual words say. If it tells me to love, I'm going to love. I'm not going to say, well, it's telling me to love, but this other book that I read tells me that there's some other stuff that says some other stuff. I'm going what I read. And Lil Nas X, I guarantee you, him or people of his ilk don't know anything about this reference that you're referring to, which points to 42 other this and all of this and the ancient Egyptians and all that stuff. Lil Nas X don't know that. Lil Nas X is going by some stuff that some people that claim to be Christians said, and he's rebelling against Christianity because of that, instead of just reading what it says and living by what it says. That's my point. Oh, Reginald. Happy Easter, everybody.
I'm not going to quote unquote hell. Hell. I'm already in hell, so it doesn't really matter.
There is. Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, you know.
This is going to be a hell of an episode.
No, right? I can't wait to listen back to it. But
man, you can wait for the comments, baby. Wait for the comments.
The whole thing about being in hell right now, though, I think there is something to that, and that's the reason. That's the reason that people are supposed to be looking forward to heaven and not embracing what goes on in this world. Because if you look at all the things that go on in this world, it's a whole lot more negative than positive. Just because your life might be good or decent, or you might be happy or content right now, there are hundreds,
millions of people,
thousands, millions of people that cannot say that same thing, who are living in miserable conditions.
Yep.
And it's very
for no reason.
And it's for no reason. And it's very arrogant of you to be like, well, I'm good though. My life is good. So shoot. It's those same people. And see,
Christians.
People who are overly religious without following the doctrine.
Christians.
No. It's those same people that will be living their life, and the minute something bad happens to them, they're like, oh God, why would you let this happen to me? While it's somebody over in some third world country who was kidnapped, who's being trafficked and being raped 15 times a day. Now, if you can't take that, your water pipe busted, and you asking why, imagine if you live that life. So
you don't even have to go to a third world country. Just go down the street in DC.
Yeah. Did you know that we never gonna wrap this up? Did you know that Atlanta is like a super hub for sex trafficking?
Yep, I just found that out because of the shooting. Yep.
Atlanta. Sex trafficking, crazy high rates of AIDS. Man, boy.
You sure you're not living in Babylon, buddy?
Man, I'll say that. And then we'll wrap for the 16th time. Right, for the 16th time. These brothers out here talking about they don't like the way condoms feel, and I hear women now talking about they don't like the way condoms feel. Man, I'm wrapping my body in saran wrap, and I have my gun, and shoot, I would not be sex trafficked.
We gonna get banned in 47 states now.
Not whatever state Lil Nas X lives in.
Dude, it's
Lil Nas X.
Is typical still alive? Because she better go to have a damn congressional meeting against us. Get these motherfuckers off the damn internet.
Which is so interesting that his husband ran as a super liberal.
Pretty much. The new NWA, baby.
But I will say in Tipper Gore's defense.
You always got to find the bright side of some stupid shit, don't you?
Reggie. See, I didn't see it back then because I was in my 20s and stuff like that. I was a kid. I was in my teens and my 20s back when Tipper Gore was going wild. And Tipper Gore is the person who advocated for Congress to like pass laws that they had to have those like parental advisory warnings on albums and things like that. For people that don't know, if you don't know, shame on you. But that's who she was. And it all surrounded what was going on with gangster rap and stuff like that. And not just gangster rap, but just rap in general.
Yeah, because Prince got it. She got it. A couple other artists. Yeah.
So in music in general. But I will say that And now another thing came to my mind I want to talk about.
We never gonna wrap up.
Never, never. The 3 hour episode. This could be a 2 hour episodes that Reggie complains about. But knowing me in my mind, I'll forget about it as in the next couple of seconds. But the thing about it is looking at it, I was like, yeah, she's the enemy and all of that stuff, and let these people do their thing. As an older African American male, listening back to some of the music that I loved and listening to a lot of the things in that music that I love that were negative, I really don't see it as a bad thing. And it's funny because Tipper Gordon, who was the black, was C. Dolores, C. Dolores, the one that was also on that crusade against Tupac and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching something and they were bigging her up now, even though they were calling her every bitch in the world because she was like talking about how there was too much misogyny in hip hop. But
They still saying that shit.
yeah, because it's still true. But
But my thing is this though. Back then she was the enemy, but boy, she would lose her fucking wig right now if she heard the music out there now. Good God, there's no. I mean, back then the stuff they were saying back then is actually romper room stuff compared to what they're getting away with now.
well, to hear you tell the story, shoot, they wouldn't be able to understand.
That's if you're about to say that's if you understand them.
But I will.
Blah 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 shit blah 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 hit. Yeah, okay.
And the other thing, I thought I'd forget about it, but of course, this is the day that I'll remember everything. It's funny how me and Reggie, before we started recording, we talked about how, in don't mean disrespect to anyone, but how black people used to do stuff and how white people used to do stuff. And the two things just didn't mesh. If you saw somebody committed a crime, you would be like, that's a white person. Or you say that's a black person. Or you say, I hope that's not a black person.
I hope that's not a black person.
These things have merged. And the reason I bring that up is one, because of the Lil Nas X thing, is because his going head first into like the whole satanic thing. But remember back when we were growing up, when like AC/DC and Motley Crue like shout at the devil and Ozzy Osbourne,
Black Sabbath, yep.
yeah, and Black Sabbath and all of that stuff, and black people were like, oh my gosh. And now with Lil Nas X, it's like, oh, okay.
I'm gonna lap that to Satan.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Get it.
And for people that don't know, last week there was an incident at the Capitol, another one, where guy ran his car into a barricade, got out with a knife and stabbed a cop and killed two cops, I think, something like that. And then they shot him. And I was telling Reggie when I first saw the report, I was like, if he just had a knife, I'm surprised they shot and killed him. Then I was like, well, he must be black.
He must be black.
And I joked about it, knowing that that's not the kind of stuff that black people do. It's becoming more and more apparent that is the kind of stuff that black people do, because that man is black. And when you look at pictures of him, he doesn't look crazy. He looks like a normal dude, grew up in Virginia, look like an average dude, a handsome dude, if I may say.
He just had a bad day.
I was blown. What Reggie's referring to is the person that walked into the massage parlor down here in Atlanta and shot up the people, and the sheriff said that the killer was having a bad day. I thought he got a bit of a bad rap for that, because he was just simply quoting what the kid said. He said that, and the dude repeated it, and people took it as the sheriff being insensitive, when that wasn't really fair. But bye, y'all.
Bye.